Okay, we're just gonna start recording and hopefully my thing doesn't freak out. I'm having mild technical difficulties, but if you can't already tell, I've got some of my art up on the screen here, and we're gonna talk about character ref sheets and how to make a good one. While I Guys, please help. Please help. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with anything that is happening. Why is it flickering? Why is it fine and then it's flickering? I spent like $30 on this cable. I don't understand. It worked fine for a stream. Perfectly fine. Not a single issue. And now suddenly it's like not working? So I guess we're gonna play the unplug, plug back in game. Okay. We're back. But hello everybody. My name is Jelly. Welcome back to the jam. We are not doing video games today. We are doing art. And I'm going to talk about how art is art. But Caspian is a character that I have owned for a while. They are a Pine Wolf design that I adopted years ago and finally recently decided they needed a ref sheet. Like an actual proper ref sheet, so I made them a proper ref sheet. So we are going to go over how I went about doing that, give you some tips on how to make your own ref sheets, and make good ref sheets, not bad ref sheets, because we want good ref sheets. And my thing's flickering again. This is gonna take longer than I want. You know, if technology did technology things and worked properly, I could do this all in one go, and I wouldn't have to be unplugging my iPad every 5 seconds. Why couldn't it be working properly? Oh my goodness. But anyways, we're gonna go over Caspian's ref sheet and give some information on how I do these sorts of things. So we're just gonna do it this way in Procreate because this is the way I'm doing it. So, as with all things, you start with the sketch. So I'm picking out a pose. I am in that upper corner of the canvas, so you know that's fine. But we get our pose, and it is OBS. OBS, behave, please. Oh my god, my thing. Oh, stop. 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 This is gonna be a problem. Oh my goodness. How do I fix this? How do I? Is it a Procreate problem? Is it an iPad problem? I don't understand. Can I restart my iPad? Or shut it off and restart it? Is it the cable problem again? I don't understand. What is happening? How do you shut these off? There we go. Apple keeps changing their product, and it's kind of annoying. But I have this new cable, right? I bought this cable specifically for data transfer. And it's a nice, good anchor cable. It's supposed to be really good. Why is OBS flickering at me when I'm trying to use it? It wasn't doing this when I was streaming, and now suddenly it's doing it while I'm just recording. I do not understand. Oh my goodness. Like, is there some OBS update I don't have? Is it something that Apple just hates Apple products? Or, let me rephrase. Is it something where Apple product don't like other non-Apple product? Because it's probably that, let's be honest. I have shut the iPad off. I have turned the iPad back on. I think it's the cable again, though, if I had to guess. Okay. This is going to be impossible to do if the thing keeps flickering because it can't exactly pause the time lapse and do all that fun stuff. So please, IPID, OBS, get along. For me, we've got our pose and a decapitated head. Whenever I draw, I decapitate the head, draw the head separate from the body, and then position it with the body. It's helpful that way, alright? And I did the same thing with the hand because it can be distracting when parts of the body are close together and you don't want to mess with them. It's just easier to just draw them off to the side so that way you're not getting distracted. That's just a little... Why? Why is it not working? Oh my god. The one time I finally have the energy to record this video that I've been wanting to record for weeks. And I was like, okay, I have to do it. Like, I just gotta do it. And I was like, well, what's the main barrier? The cable, the iPad charging cable that was, for whatever reason, not wanting to work. Now suddenly is not working still. This is gonna be a video. Why is this cable not working? What happened? I need an actual computer. I think this is what I'm running into. No, Mac is a computer, but it's not. Obviously, it's not working, and obviously, my tracking is going all over the place, and obviously, it's struggling, and obviously. Oh, wait, I think I know what the problem is. Okay, maybe this fixes it. I forget, whenever OBS opens, it has to share the screen 6 different times, and I have to close every instance of it trying to share stuff. And it kind of bugged. It kind of stupid. It kind of dumb. There we go. Take 3 or whatever. This is, oh my god. I swear. Please. Nope. I swear. I just wanna do the thing. Okay. So, you draw the pose. You pick out a good pose. A pose that shows all of the markings that need to be shown. So, a front view, a back view is pretty standard, pretty typical. You don't want bits and pieces blocking stuff, and I was struggling with the head. So we decapitate the head, draw the head separately, so that way I don't have to worry about the body position connecting to the head while I'm trying to figure out the head and the face, right? So we carry on, working on the body, and then we have the tail doing a swooshy. Now, a lot of ref sheets don't show the tail, but some do, connected to like the body and whatnot. It just depends on if the tail is going to be distracting from the markings on the body, or if it adds to like show, hey, this is how the tail go when it's connected to the body. And since this tail is just a pretty simple looking shark tail, as you saw with the end result of the ref sheet, I was like, it needs to be swooshy. Plus, I'm trying to do a simple ref sheet that doesn't have too much going on. Thank you, OBS, for cooperating so far. And thank you guys for sticking through whatever is happening. But yeah, we add in the bits and the bobs. I believe I'm pulling up a whole bunch of different art references of the character, both that I've drawn and whatnot, and then we duplicate the thing and flip it. And then draw the other half facing the back. So that way we're not having to redo the pose. And basically you just do that by erasing all the features you don't need showing, and then redrawing them so that they're in the right perspective. But, you know. So Caspian has a fin on the back. So we did that, messing with the floof, and now we are drawing a proper ref for the tail. Because we need a good view of the tail. Even though there's no crazy markings going on, it is still very helpful to be like, this is what the tail looks like when it's not being flexed or bent. This is how the markings go. And then I had extra canvas space because I'm gonna hold on, pause right here. I draw tiny first, so that way I am limited by the pixels and don't go overboard on details when I am sketching, and I can just focus on the form and the shape. So when I do this tiny little box thing, I have to get a box of the full canvas. So that's what I did. I zoom in, I do the box of the canvas, so that way I know how much canvas space I'm taking up compared to the full thing, right? So I'm like, I've got extra space. I knew I wanted a headshot, and then I was like, you know what? I should probably do an outfit shot, because a lot of people do that on the ref sheets where they go, yes, this is the vibe of the character. This is how the character is. So I was like, okay, we'll do some sketching, and then we'll boom pop up the name of the character and kind of get all that layout laid out. Got some information of the character. Caspian is a gummy shark snow leopard hybrid. And then that's where I'm going to put the colors, and then that big old blank spot is going another headshot. And that's because Caspian has an asymmetrical design in the face region. So I need that extra spot. Now I am using symmetry tool for the lines because the lines and whatnot is going to be symmetrical, but the coloring won't be. So that helps speed up the process. Use the tools that you are given with your program to speed up the process, because ref sheets are a struggle. Otherwise, sketch-wise, the layout of this sheet is pretty much done. I'm just adding some notes and details and then making it full size. to start the line art process. Now, while I am doing all the line art, and you're gonna see things flip-flop on and off the screen a whole bunch, let me tell you about a character ref sheet that I did kind of before this one. I don't know how many of you guys know about Brooklyn, my lynx fish hybrid character. She's got an issue with markings and how I draw fluff. So you can tell my style's been about the same for a minute of how I draw fluff. Brooklyn has stripes in her cheek fluff, and they are a very dark color. I typically line things with black. So the very dark color, when you're not really looking at it like super high, like woo, really zoomed in looking at it, it looks like it's just how I draw line art. So I have since added a note to the ref sheet and all that fun stuff. So if you are someone who draws in a very particular style, and maybe some markings might get lost in your line art, be aware of this fact. Maybe have a friend or two look over your ref sheet and make sure that nothing's confusing. Why is my tail going so far outside the box? Bro, we're having all sorts of scuff today. Oh my goodness. But you can see I popped up the ref sheet, so that's gonna be flashing a little bit. Sorry. But just to make sure that I'm getting the shape and everything correct. Line art is a chore, I swear. But here, I'm ignoring the sketch because at this point in time, I am commissioning the art chat avatar of the character, which is the whole point of me doing the ref sheet to begin with. So I was like, I need to get colors down to send this to the texture artist so that way they know, that's what it looked like. Okay. So for a moment there, I was like, okay, getting everything prepped for color, but then I was like, I've got extra time. I can line the whole thing. Let me just get all the lining out of the way. But it is helpful with ref sheets to have all of the views of all of the details that are going to be important. So that's why I have the main headshot right there in the middle that is straight on, so that way you can get a good view of what the face markings will look like without all the fluff in the way. And then I also have a more personality, I guess, esque sketch, so that way I don't have to write a whole ass paragraph of what the character's personality most of the time. If it depends, you know, some artists need that extra description, some artists don't. I like that little extra bit of description about the character, it just helps me out. So we've got that, and I am struggling with these clothes. I think I need to do a clothing study soon because, oh my god, that crop top was giving me all of the issues. But the pants, I've done them pants style a lot, so I know about how all that works. I wanted some swooshy straps. I wanted the cargo pants. I like cargo pants. And then we do all of that line art. I like hand lettering my stuff. I know a lot of people prefer text, which, as long as your handwriting is legible, then go for it. Otherwise, I would highly recommend using the text function of whatever program you're using. Just because it is easier to read in case there are, you know, details and whatnot. My handwriting can be a challenge to read sometimes. And now I'm just adding the original OG design that Pine Wolf did, so that way any artist in the future can reference, that's what it originally looked like. Okay, I understand how some of these features are now. And then we got our colors picked from that and plotted out. And we are going in with the coloring. I think I'm doing pinks. Yeah, all the pinks. So you can see now the difference. I didn't notice this at first, but if you look at the OG, I don't know, the pixels might be too small for you. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But if you look at the OG design, one ear is white with pink, the other ear is the dark blue navy with white in the middle, or blue in the middle, which I did not catch at first. And nor did one of the artists who first drew the character for Art Fight catch, which is totally okay. Okay. I didn't have a ref for Art Fight, so this is my pre-game Art Fight. We are prepping for Art Fight this would have been October? I did this ref a few months ago. But now we're going in, doing all the details, and I know I said that front face is going to be asymmetrical. Currently it is symmetrical, so that way I can add the asymmetrical bits in a little bit. I find it easier to get all the, yep, see, boom, there I go. Playing around, trying to figure out, because none of the art, the hair covers that side of the face, so you don't really see it a whole lot. So I kind of mess around for a bit, go back to it, try and play around. That's the beauty of digital art, is you can play around with the design and the colors all you want. And I encourage it, especially if you are struggle with picking out colors and trying to find colors that look good together. Play around with the colors, play around with the placement, please. Because the more you tweak, the more you kind of go, that doesn't really work, and then you try out new things, the better the design ends up looking to some degree. All right, sometimes you do get it right on the first try, but that very, very, very rarely ever happens. A lot of times you got to do some playing and figure out what looks good, what goes good where. You'll see me struggle with this fin because I'm trying to reference the original design and trying to make it more coherent, I guess, or more, I don't know, where it's easier to look at and go, yes, that's what's happening. That is what's happening. These spots also had me struggling because I wanted them only on the shoulders. I didn't want them too big, but I also didn't want them too small. So I mess around with the spot placement for a bit before I finally land on something that looks all right. But then you can see on the front-facing view, the spots look pretty large, and then the back-facing view, they look a lot smaller. I think I go back and fix that or tweak it a little bit later. I don't know. Now I'm taking a break from coloring and adding in pronouns, because pronouns, important. I jump around a lot. So another thing that I do whenever I'm designing or making a reference for a character is I keep every single color on its own layer for very easy tweaking of the colors themselves in case I make a marking that I really like, but I don't like the color. I can just, boom, easy shift the color to what it looks like. Now the tail is going to look funky for a bit because there is a gradient over top of the tail. So I start with that very light base color and then I go in with my airbrush to get that gummy shark look. So I do that by having the light base color going in through all of the darker shades until I get it looking how I want it. And then I will take the airbrush again and kind of go around the edges. So it looks kind of flat right now because I haven't done that yet. But I did do it on the more detailed full body with the clothing. You can kind of see. I was debating doing that to the whole ref sheet. The reason being is for ref sheets, you don't always want the fancy sparkles because it can make it difficult, but at the same time, you want it to look like how the character would look. That was a bad way of wording it. Basically, you don't want your character fully rendered. So if there are aspects of the character, say gold or metallic bits, it depends on sort of, how do I word this? Sometimes you want to do that, sometimes you don't. It is good to have a base ref color, but it's also good to have a note saying, hey, this is metallic. I guess I have a Transformers OC that I will pop up where I did this too, where the whole thing is flat colors, but there are bits and pieces that are a more shiny metallic color, and I wanted to show that distinction. So I did have a note being like, hey, this is metallic, but these are the colors I used, so that way an artist in the future can do the metal in whatever style they do metal in. I'm also, you can see the line art is now lighter colored around the face in the darker areas. If you've got a lot of dark colors and you typically line with black, throw in some lighter colors in those darker areas. It makes it a whole lot easier to see. Now I'm playing with the clothes because I was not sure what I wanted to do, but I like the paint splotch sort of look, sort of like tie-dye-ish look of the shirt. But now you can see me rendering the clothing side. I'm adding the shiny bits to kind of show, hey, this is what this looks like in a lighted environment. This is what it would look like in a finished piece. It is important if your character has some funky materials to have a reference of this is what it looks like in the real world versus this is what it would look like in a no light, nothing flat space. So that way, when an artist is trying to figure out what color markings are where, especially if you have a character like this where there are 5 different shades of blue then you can very easily see, okay, this is where this marking goes, this is where this marking goes, instead of looking at like being like, shading or no shading, especially if you look at kind of the shaded area, if I zoom in over here, kind of where all those markings end up. Now I'm working on the background. It is very important when you are making a ref sheet to keep the background simple. You do not want your background distracting from the character, because the point of the ref sheet is to be like character. So keep the ref sheet background simple, but you can still use the ref sheet background to add to your character. I did a sort of beachy theme here, kind of a sandy color going up into the blue, but I tried keeping that blue different from the actual blues of the character. I still might tweak this a little bit because that one blue tone looks very similar to the blue background. But that's basically how you do a ref sheet. It's basically it. I've got a pose that showcases all that here. Let me go small. Let me go small so you guys can see a little bit better. Now that OBS is behaving. But you can see we've got a good pose that kind of showcases the character's personality a little bit. You don't have to be static with your poses, although a static pose does kind of make it easier to show markings. It just depends on what you want to do with your ref sheet, what you want to do with your character. We've got a good view of the face, because the face of the character is probably what's going to be drawn or commissioned the most. We've got it without the fluff, so that way you can see how it goes in case a drawing needs the fluff kind of pushed out of the way or whatever's going on. It's just good to have that there. Or in my instance, commissioning a VR chat avatar, you need to see what the full thing look like without the fluff, otherwise the texture gonna look funky. So there's that. We've got some notes around saying that the claws are here. Let me get out of this so you guys can see full detail and not compressed pixels. There we go. But we've got notes around like retractable claws, having a note that the ears are different colors, one being white with the pink, the other being navy with the cyan, and then a note saying, hey, don't draw my character bald, but this is what they look like if they were bald. We got the back view that shows all of the stripes and a little bit better placement of the spots, as well as the fin. We've got the tail chopped off, so that way it's not blocking any markings. And then we've got the tail roughly an accurate size comparison of what the tail would be if it were standing up right next to the character. And then we've got the tail. I did add detail to the tail, so the tail is accurate to what it would be. It's just missing the shine for the rendering, which, you know, that's what you gotta do, so that way you can see how the colors go. And then we have some accessories. So I've got a hat that Caspian would probably wear a lot, and then a collar with a fish hook attached to it. And then all the way on the far right-hand side, we have a fully rendered, with an outfit, Caspian just chilling. Kind of floating there, but still just chilling. So this gives a good reference of kind of their personality. They've got an expression that they would probably have, and all of that. Oh, one other thing that a lot of people, I've had to draw characters and constantly ask clients like, hey, what color is this? Make sure you show the color of the inside of the mouth. I've got the tongue blepping out. I like doing this now, where I have the tongue blepping out somewhere. And then if the inside of the mouth is different than the tongue, I will have a note somewhere. But Caspian's mouth is pretty much going to be that pink, that very, very light pink color. I also have a note down here. Because the pink is very, very light, it may be difficult for some people to see. So having a note pointing out, like, hey, this marking is a color that is very similar to this other color, but it is here. So that way, you know, at a glance, you might miss the heart being down there. But if you got a note that's pointing it out. So that's there. I also have the OG guy up here, where you can see those things a little bit, but they're still kind of hidden. There is a heart on Caspian's chest here. I figured that since it's close enough to the face, an artist would be looking at those markings a little more closely. That's typically how it goes. So I didn't put a note there, but there is space in that area that if I need to add a note later, I can. I do have a note down here saying that this is a gummy tail. That's the gummy shark part of the character, the tail. So that hopefully will help with any artist that does a really intricate rendering style to know what the texture of that tail is going to be. But that's pretty much it. That's how I do ref sheets. Actually, really quickly. Okay, we're taking a little bit of a jump to a different ref sheet. This is a ref sheet work in progress that I'm currently working on. This is for a Transformer character. So I've got a bunch of different vehicles. Now, okay, I know that a lot of you clicking out of this are probably like, furry characters. I want furry characters. Hi, I'm a Transformers artist as well. I like doing mecha things. So any of you who might want some tips on armor, here's some small little tips, some small little ones, okay? Nah, not really. This is just another ref sheet that I'm working on that is using a more static pose versus a more dynamic pose, like Caspian's ref. This guy, more static pose, I'm doing a mirrored ref, so that way it's less work. It's so much easier to do refs this way, I swear. But this character is a very symmetrical design. There's nothing happening asymmetrical that I've decided on yet. There might be, I don't know, lore reasons. But they're based off of a Mitsubishi Eclipse, so I've got several different little pics of that vehicle off to the side. And then I'll kind of use that as reference for different bits of the Transformer character, because they gotta transform into the car, so you have to have parts of the car showing. So I've got like the shoulders and the front of the car being sort of that headlight region. And then, hold on, I'm actually gonna write. Okay, this is gonna be a combination furry ref sheet and how to draw a Transformer, or how to design a Transformer. No. Sure, that'll work. Okay. But you can kind of see, right? Actually, maybe I should use the purple, because that way I can work on this. So, right? We've got this shoulder piece, and then we've got the fang bit. So the shoulder piece would be here, and then we've got the fang bit. And then you've got the chest, so that would kind of be like, boom, this is the chest bit, right? And then we come down to the leg. Obviously, we've got the wheel. Okay, we've got wheel, and then we've got this back portion right here with like the exhaust coming out. That is this section of the car right here with this back wheel. So with Transformers, you just kind of pick out iconic bits of the vehicle mode that kind of stand out, and then be like, this would go here, and then this would go here, and then it's pretty easy to be like, ah, that's what this part of the car is. Got it. Now, as an excuse for pulling up this character. Hi, hello, how's it going? I have a question. I have been banging my head into a wall trying to figure out what I want to do with this character in terms of, do they have wheels on the back, or do they have the doors? Like, do we have a pair of wheels back here? Or do we have, like, the wing door thing? What? I can't decide what I want to do for the character. I'm leaning toward door wing, but at the same time, I really like a good thing of wheel wing. Or do I do a weird combination like Smokescreen in Transformers Prime, where he's got like the wheels and the door in the same place? But then that's complicated. And I could very easily just put the wheel here in the shoulder, which would make sense because that's the front fender essentially. Or I have the wheel poking out a bit, and then boom, that's wheel. And then have the door. With the maybe? I don't know, you guys suggest things because I don't know what to do, okay? That's part of why this ref sheet's incomplete. And I'm asking random strangers on the internet who probably know nothing about Transformers because you found me for my gaming furry content. I'm dying, guys, okay? It's a holiday season and I work in retail and my voice is struggling. Why did I decide to record a video today? Ah! But anyways, that is all I wanted to yap about, kind of ref sheets and kind of my gripes with ref sheets, which I'm gonna give a very quick summary here at the end. If you're making a ref sheet, make sure the pose is good and make sure your colors are good and get along together, okay? There's a whole lot of other videos on color theory and whatnot, but if the colors clash too much, tweak them, please, okay? And last and most importantly, do not render your ref sheets. I beg of you, do not render your ref sheets. It makes it so hard to color pick directly from the ref sheet, even if you have like the colors off to the side. I've seen some people render their ref sheets and then they, while rendering, decide they want to add another color, but then they don't add it to their color pool, and I'm just like, bro, are you trying to make my job harder? Like, what are you doing? So, please, for any future artists out there that would commission your character, or that you would commission to draw your character, do not render your ref sheet. Let's don't do it. Now, it's fine if you want a rendered version of the ref sheet. That's fine, but make sure you have a flat color version that you hand your artist and go, here you go. But yeah, just make sure every single marking that is important is visible. Have notes pointing to any markings that might be harder to see. Just use notes in general, okay? It's very helpful. It's very, very helpful. But that's about it. It's pretty simple at the end of the day. Just make sure your reference is a good reference for your character. So that way, all that stuff is, all that stuff. So, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I know it was scuffed at the beginning. I guess restarting my iPad fixed the issue. That's weird. Technical bugs, I guess. We'll figure it out. But that's all I had for today. Hopefully I will do some more art content in the future. But until then, I will catch you all later. Bye-bye! My voice is dying. I need to